Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf and to another Recent Reads on Sunday. It has been a hot minute that I filmed the Recent Reads. I think it was in March before I had my little break. And I do want to continue with this series. Not every Sunday because I only film on Sundays at the moment. But, once or twice a month, I want to talk to you about the books that I've just finished or that I'm currently working on. But before we do that, I want to talk about a book that has been recently published and that I've read quite a while ago when it was still in the making, and that is The Schoolmaster by fellow booktuber Jess from Garden Scriptorium. The book has just been published month or so ago, is available as ebook, and Jessica and I are in a writing group. We form a writing group with the two of us, so we show each other our work. We give feedback, we give criticism. So I had the pleasure of reading The Schoolmaster while it was written, and it's. If you like historical fiction, I can really recommend this book, especially if you are interested in history, Scottish history around 1570. The book is about the very young King James, King James the 6th or 7th or 8th, or I'm not very good at that. Never mind. But the book is not called The Schoolmaster for nothing, because the main character is Peter Young, who comes to the court, the Scottish court, to be a teacher to the young King James. And then, of course, there is political intrigue. There is, with the French, and there is people who spy and who might be traitors. And it's a really well done story. And like I said, if you are into historical fiction, and especially historical fiction set with real people, in this instance the Scottish court, with the king and Peter Young as the main character, it's a delight. A lot of things happen. People get killed. So I can highly recommend this book if you want to check out some new historical fiction. Anyway, so this is Jess's debut, a new book. Congratulations, by the way, Jess. On to the books that I read more recently. And the first book I want to talk about is this one with the glare. A Mind to Murder. Yes, it's a very pretty cover, but it glares because it's silvery, by P.D. James. And this was published in the early 1960s. P.D. James does not need an introduction. She is, I think, as famous as Agatha Christie for crime novels. This is the second book in the Dalglish series, and I read this as well as the first one together with Terri from Miss Terri Reads. The book is a murder in a psychiatric clinic, and no, the patients really do not feature. So it's not, crazy people killing. No. But it's set in a clinic. And you have the doctors and the nurses, and then Dalglish and his sidekick are brought in to investigate the murder of a young administration officer who has been murdered quite gruesomely. It's a good book. If you have never read P.D. James, I would certainly check out this series with the first book. It's better to start with the first book because it shows also the development of the main character, Dalglish, who is our detective and also a poet. But it's just not my type of crime story or the way it's told. It's very much, the crime is solved very much by conversations with the witnesses or conversations Dalglish has with his assistant, so to speak. And it's really well done, and how P.D. James gives us hints, and so that you might be able to solve the crime by yourself. But I just don't like, no, let's not be negative. I like a different type of crime story. If you have read the Linley series, if you talk about police procedurals, that's the type of crime story that I like. So for now at least, I'm not continuing with this series. But if you are more into the quiet crime, also a little historical because it's set in the 60s, with a very interesting inspector or detective, try out her first one in this series. The next book I read was also a buddy read with Kathleen, from, I think she might come back to BookTube, but she had been on BookTube, but it's been a long time that she took a hiatus. So anyway, Kathleen, maybe you come back. The Nights at the Circus by Angela Carter. Don't get confused. It's not vintage Carter. It's just vintage Carter. So her name is Angela Carter. And I guess most of you know her. She's a contemporary, or she was, I should say, a contemporary American author who died, unfortunately, quite young, beginning of the 1990s. So she would have been, I think she was born in the 1940s. So she died in her 50s, which was unfortunate. But she has a very unique place, I would say, within the literary canon. So this book follows a rather uncommon character called Sophie Fevers, who is a woman working at a circus as an aerialist, and her specialty is she has wings. That's why Sophie Fevers. So at her back, she has huge feathery bird wings. Of course, the question is, are they real? Is she a fake? And the book opens when she is interviewed by a journalist. What's his name? I always forget his name. Jack Walser. About her life, her career. She tells us that she was a foundling and she was raised in a brothel, but she maintains that her wings are real. After this interview, the second part of the book is when Jack joins the circus to write more about it. They go to St. Petersburg, and in the third part, they go to Siberia. And adventure ensues about that. You learn about the world of this circus, all the characters, the owner of the circus. But that sounds, except for the wing part, sounds maybe, yeah. But this is a book, if you have read Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita, that type of book. It's magical, and it's weird, and it's dense, so you have to pay attention. What Angela Carter explores as a feminist, and as an anti-capitalist, she explores the world of women at the turn. I should have said the book is set just before the 20th century starts. So she explores this idea of a woman who does not want to comply with what we expect from women. That is the theme. And Carter uses a woman with wings, are they real, are they not, to show us somebody who is different and who wants to lead a different life. And then there is this completely surreal, fantastical adventure that they go on. It is not an easy read in the sense that you can just read it very, very quickly. Like I said, you have to pay attention, but it's definitely worth your while if you are into that type of book, I would say. And I'm interested in Angela Carter, became interested because of my project of the unhinged woman that I'm exploring. And so Angela Carter with her main character certainly fits into that category to read. The last book that I finished recently was one of my 1001 Women I Want to Read Before I Die books, but also it's on the list of Sandy's. She has a similar project. Check out her channel if you haven't yet. And she asked me to be co-host of her book club. She always picks 10 books a year to read with us all together. And I said yes. And then I took a break and I was a crappy co-host. One of my subscribers suggested that I call my channel the crappiest of crappy co-host, so maybe I will. But anyway, in June we read Love's Work by Gillian Rose, which was published in 1995. It's a memoir, very short. It's the only nonfiction book that is on our list. You will find the list, by the way, in the description box. So if you want to read along with us, August is no book because it's vacation time. So we in July, we read Rachel Kushner's Flamethrowers. Then August is a break, but check out the list. Anyway, this did not work for me. This is my first Gillian Rose. She was a writer, very heavily philosophical writings. This is a kind of memoir when she was already diagnosed with cancer and she knew that it was terminal. So reflections on life, on her friends. It's short essays, about maybe 10 essays or something. And like I said, it's a kind of reflection on her life. And it just, sometimes it sounds good and it sounds like something I would like, but I read it and I read these essays and then I was thinking, what is she talking about? I just didn't get them. So it's my fault, not the book's fault, but for me, it just did not really work. So, very sorry because I was excited and looking forward to this, but it just didn't work for me. Okay, those are the books that I finished. Let's get on with the books that I'm still reading. The Eye of the Heron by Ursula K. Le Guin, published in the 1970s, late 1970s. When the video goes up, I will have finished this. This is a buddy read with Adam from Memento Mori. We are slowly but surely making our way through the main body of work written by Ursula Le Guin. And we have made quite a dent, even though her bibliography is huge, also because she wrote so many short stories. But we made good progress. So this is our latest. It's set on a planet, Victoria, where two peoples live, both coming from Earth for various reasons, for different reasons. So you have the city people who are the rulers, and you have the town people who are the ones being oppressed, in the sense that they have to provide the food, they do all the agriculture, and then plot ensues from there. I'm not going to say more now. I am contemplating making a whole video about Ursula Le Guin, also maybe talking about where to start, because Adam and I talked about this, whether this would be a good book to start. So let me know in the comments whether you would be interested in a video about Ursula Le Guin's work. So this is The Eye of the Heron. The next book I'm reading is also a buddy read with Jo Smith, whom all of you know, even though she still doesn't have a channel. And we are reading, can you see the name? Nadwa Ashur's Spectres, translated from the Arabic by Barbara Romain, published 1999. Nadwa Ajour was an Egyptian writer. She died, I think, maybe about 10 years ago. And this book is about two women born on the same day in the 1940s. One becomes a history professor and one becomes a writer and is called Nadwa. So it is partly autofiction, set in the mid 20th century in Egypt, and so far I'm really enjoying it. We are more than halfway through, so we will finish this book next week, and then I will talk about it some more. So, Spectres by Nadwa Ajour. And the last one, also a buddy read. I still need buddy reads in order to, keep my reading going. That was the back. Sorry about that. And that is sci-fi, a Desolation called Peace by Arkady Martin. And I'm reading this with Heidi from my reading life. This is the second in a series. The first one is a memory called Empire. And it's the type of series that you should not start with this one because it just doesn't make sense. They are the same main characters, Marty. It's set in an empire, the Tlaxcalan Empire, which is a weird place where people have a very different way of communicating. Poetry is the main way of getting stuff across. They are quite, how do you call that? Xenophobic in a way, because Marty, our other main character, she comes from a station which is not really part of the empire, and so she is a barbarian. And in this first book, the memory book, Marty is sent as an ambassador, as a new ambassador to the Tlaxcalan Empire, and she realizes that her predecessor has been killed, and plot comes from there. In this, we encounter Marty with a different mission. She's asked by one of her friends from the first book to accompany, to go to the frontier of the empire because there is the possibility of an alien invasion. And those aliens are weird because they don't communicate in the same way that humans do, with this kind of language. So this book is an adventure story, how to communicate with the aliens. And I will finish it in the course of next week. So we'll talk some more about it when I have finished it. But again, if you are interested in checking out Arkady Martin, start with the first book because it otherwise just doesn't make sense. Anyway, so these were my recent reads, finished and still reading. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, I'm looking forward to your comments, and I will talk to you all soon in the next one, next Sunday.